weren't fully committed to her. And, you know, they would sort of rock up some of the time. Some of the time they would show up in the relationship and she'd, you know, think, oh, okay, good, you know, it's happening. But then they would go distant and disappear, what we call AWOL. And yeah, and then they would come back and it was sort of like on their terms, but not really her terms. Like she was more subject to whether or not they wanted to show up in the relationship, and it didn't feel good for her. So she upgraded her standards and she has found a man who is all in. He absolutely adores her, loves her, really wants to be with her, but he has this same behavioral pattern on a lesser scale. So what she was finding is that with her existing partner, there's times when he takes space, he needs space from the relationship, which is fine, but he doesn't communicate it to her. He doesn't say, hey, I just need a break for a few days. He takes the break, disappears for 2 or 3 days. Meanwhile, she's feeling abandoned. She's like, where did he go? Like, is he still in this? Has he disappeared? Is he coming back? Like, what's happening? She's in a place of discomfort in herself. And then he comes back and he's like, hi, honey, I'm back. And then there's a disconnect because she's been in a state of discomfort, you know, not knowing. I don't know if you're coming back. I don't know how long you're gone for. I don't know if you're really committed to this relationship or if you've, you know, just had enough and now you're out. And he's come back and he's like, oh, I've had my time out and I feel good and I'm ready to connect with you. So there's this clash that's happening. And yeah, she wanted to understand, like, can you overcome that? Can you move through that? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can, if both parties are willing. If he is willing to look at the parts of him that are not showing up in that moment, look at the parts of him that take space without concern for the other and without communicating to the other what is happening. And maybe he feels like a pressure to know why he needs space or to communicate in like a really clear way. And maybe he doesn't have that language, he doesn't have that knowledge, so he'd rather not say anything than to say the wrong thing. But actually the experience on the other side, the experience for the woman in this case, is that she feels deeply abandoned. She's like, you took space, you didn't communicate with me, you didn't tell me what was happening, you just, you know, stopped replying to my messages for a few days. And I was left wondering, are you even still in this relationship? Like, you know, what happened? Why am I left feeling abandoned when you've taken space? And the way that we can work through this, the way that the couple can work through this, and I can support you, or the couple in this case, to work through this, is to help both parties communicate what it is that they need. So in the case of the woman, my client in this case, is to articulate, hey, like, I need this in a relationship. I need for you to communicate to me when you need to take space. And I'm happy for you to have a period of learning whilst you work out how to do this. And I want to support you and I'm here for you. And I'm, you know, I'm rooting for you and able to, what we say, hold space whilst you learn these skills. But ultimately, this is the level of relationship that I want. And if it's not something that you're willing or able to bring to the table, then we're not going to work long term. So what she's doing here is, like, she's stating her standards, right? In a very loving, supportive way, but she's letting her partner know that this is the standard that I want and am looking for in relationship. And I would love to have that with you. I would love that to be here. But if it's not available here, or you're not willing or able to step up and meet me here, then I will leave and find somewhere else. Now, this is not a threat. It's not like an empty threat or an emotional manipulation. It's not like, oh, I'm going to pretend to leave, but don't actually leave. No, she really means it. When you set a standard, you have to be really committed in your body, like really anchored in your body of, like, you know, I'm willing to give this a period of time, and you can name what that time is. Maybe it's like 3 months, whatever feels good for you, to see, can this person step up? But if they can't, then there needs to be communication throughout. You don't just go, right, that's it, you know, throw a tantrum and leaving. You have another conversation, you know, okay, each, I don't know, every 2 weeks or once a month, you have the conversation. You know, how's it going for you? How are you doing with this new level of communication? And the couple get to talk about, you know, are the needs being met? And ultimately, if they're not, then what we call a conscious separation can take place, where you lovingly decide to part, which many people have never experienced, like a loving separation. It's usually a very abrupt, traumatic, disrespectful, unloving separation, but that's not what I coach. I really coach men and women to work together to separate in a very loving way. But ideally, we don't want to separate, right? Ideally, we want to work through the challenge. So what I would coach with the man in this case is for him to identify, like, what are the challenges with him being able to communicate in that moment? Does he fear that he's going to say the wrong thing and upset her? Does he fear that he's going to, you know, get shouted at, do it wrong, be told off? Does he fear that somehow by him stating, hey, I need some space right now, that actually she's going to abandon? And then he fears that maybe by him stating his needs, that she's gonna leave the relationship. And where I can help is to support you both to realize that actually she can be willing to hold space for you whilst you take space from the relationship, as long as you communicate what your needs are. As long as you communicate to say, hey, actually, I'm feeling some things. I don't actually know what those things are. Like, you don't have to know. You don't have to, you know, be able to articulate your whole internal world. You just need to say, I just need a few days without communication. I'm going to take that and then I'm going to come back. The two things that you need are to say that you need time out and how long, and to commit to coming back. So I guess really it's three things. Like, you say, I need time out, you say how long it is, and you commit to coming back. That commitment to coming back in the time frame agreed is what builds trust. Without that, or if you break that, or if you don't communicate that, trust continually gets broken over and over again, and you cannot build a loving, lasting, forever relationship when there is no trust. Trust is the foundation, one of the foundations of building like forever love. So yeah, these are the three things. If equally, I mean, I'm talking about, you know, the situation with my client where she was the one who wanted the communication and the man was the one who wanted to take space. But this can actually happen the other polarity as well. I won't go too much into attachment styles right now, but what we're really talking about is the anxious attachment and the avoidant attachment. And if you don't know about these things, go and Google attachment styles and find out which attachment style you are, because knowing your attachment style is so important when you're in a relationship. You need to know how you show up under stress in a relationship so that you can communicate that to whoever you get into relationship with. And so in this case, my client, the woman, had a slightly anxious attachment. She didn't, you know, get super anxious and really, you know, the anxiety didn't overwhelm her, but it was uncomfortable for her. Her level of closeness is that when the relationship is under duress, she wants to feel closer to her partner. Somebody with avoidant attachment, when the relationship is under duress, they need space. So can you see how those two things are opposite? And it's very common that you're attracted to the opposite. So for me, I err slightly on the side of anxious, and I have always attracted partners who are on the side of avoidant. Now, I've done a lot of work to build what we call secure attachment, so that I can hold myself and all of my parts and my reactions if my partner needs to take space, or when there is a disconnect in the relationship, because it will happen. You know, we're human, this is life. And he is slightly on the side of avoidant, but he's also very securely attached. So what that means is this secure attachment is we can communicate our needs even in a space of duress. So, you know, if he and I have a fight, which to be honest happens very rarely these days, but in the beginning, the first 18 months of our relationship, we fought a lot. And the way we managed to stay together and the way we navigated that was to communicate, like, okay, I'm feeling really uncomfortable right now with our communication or our situation, or, you know, whatever the thing is that's arising right now has really triggered something in me, and I need to take space. I need to go away and process, and I will come back. If you know it's only going to be a short space of time, like you need half an hour, you can just say, I'm coming back soon. You know, just give me an hour, just give me a couple of hours. I just need to go for a walk, clear my head, you know, get some fresh air, just get a different perspective so that I can come back and communicate in a clear way. But if you're really triggered, or if you know that you need to take extra space, like days of space, you must communicate that, because it's such a breach of trust if you take space without communicating. And then your partner feels abandoned, you break the trust that's been built in the relationship, and you really take steps backwards, like big steps backwards. Whereas if you can just say, okay, there's something come up for me, you don't even have to know what it is. You can just say, I don't really know what it is. I don't know how to talk about it right now, but I do need space. I do need to take, I don't know, 3 days, 5 days, a week, whatever. I would say do not take more than ideally 3 to 5 days, because after that period of time, abandonment wounding really sets in with your partner. Your partner will really start to feel scared about whether or not you're coming back, and whether or not you're fully committed to this relationship. And to be honest, if you are somebody that needs to take in excess of 3 days to process something, that's also something that I would advise that you look at and start to work on. Like, how can I get to know myself a little better, and maybe work with a therapist or a coach, or, you know, a counselor who can support me to navigate my internal world with a little bit more speed, so that ideally I can come back to my partner within 1 to 3 days. Because beyond about 3 days, a disconnect really starts to occur in the relationship, and it can really erode trust. And when that happens on a repeated basis, there's just no trust to move forward, no trust to build something for the long term. And every time you fight, there's going to be this fear of, are you actually coming back? You know, is this the end? And it gets really exhausting and really draining. And then people start to feel like, I don't want to be in this anymore. Like, it's too much, it's too hard. So yeah, so anyway, that is an example of the sort of thing that I cover in my one-to-one coaching. The session that I spoke to you about was actually just a single one-to-one session with, I just worked with the woman on the side of this relationship, and she knew well enough how to work with her partner for the rest of that. But she may well come back to me for more sessions. So you can see that we can achieve a lot in a one-off clarity coaching sessions, which are 45 minutes. You can book them via the link on my Instagram profile. You'll see that there's a link there, and in there you'll see clarity coaching is one of the first few links on the top. And yeah, you can just book straight in. You can see my calendar, you book, you pay, it's all done. And yeah, you get a 45-minute session with me, and it will be something like what I've just talked about here. Equally, I am going to do these lives. I'm going to try them. This was my first one today. I'm going to try doing a couple more. And yeah, if people want to jump in, hopefully Karen can come back on another occasion. I know she wanted to join today. I also know she had some work commitments that were vying for her attention, so maybe they pulled her away, and that's fine. But if you know that you want to come on to one of these sessions, drop me a DM. Just let me know. I will reserve a space for you. We can make sure that the time that I'm going to come on is a time that works for you. Generally, it will probably be around about this time, but I can also make it a little bit earlier or a little bit later. And actually, to be honest, I could also do a morning session as well for those who are in other parts of the world. I'm based in London, as you might tell from my accent. But yeah, if you're based in other parts of the world, I work with clients all over the world, just so you know. I have sessions in the morning, lunchtime, or evening, depending on where people are and what their time zones are. So anyway, that feels complete for me. Thank you for joining me. And Karen, thanks so much for being willing. And yeah, I would love to have you come on another occasion. And yeah, thanks for everybody who did pop on. And just drop me a DM if you're interested in knowing more, or you want to come on to another live. And equally, if you're like, hell yes, this is the type of coaching I want, then just go straight to the bio link on my page and just book in clarity coaching. You can see my calendar there. You can book straight away. Okay, I'm going to sign out. Lovely to see you all. Bye.